Today, we're going to unpack a framework that is absolutely essential for anyone building, well, anything. It's called the Kano model. And trust me, it's so much more than just another prioritization tool. It's really a powerful way to think, a strategic lens that helps you make those critical business decisions that can make or break your success.
You know the feeling, right? Every team on the planet faces this. You've got a dozen amazing ideas, 100 requests from customers, but you only have the budget and the time to build a few of them. If you choose wrong, it's not just a missed opportunity. It could literally mean falling behind your competition for good. The stakes? Yeah, they're incredibly high.
All right, so let's tackle this head on with a really clear, structured approach. We're going to start with the core problem, then introduce the Kano model as the answer. After that, we'll do a deep dive into its components using a MISI framework. That's a consultant term for making sure we cover all the bases with no overlap. Then we'll get practical with an actionable playbook, see how to use the model for long-term strategy, and wrap it all up with the single most important takeaway you need to remember. So how do we finally get a good answer to that question, what's next? Well, the key is to stop thinking about what we think is important and start focusing on what actually drives customer satisfaction. And that is exactly where the Kano model comes into play. It gives us a data-driven way to see the world completely through our customers' eyes. So, where did this thing come from? It was actually developed way back in the 80s in Japan by a professor named Noriaki Kano. He was doing deep research into what makes customers loyal. And its purpose is really simple, but it's also incredibly profound. Help teams figure out what to build next, not based on cost or how hard it is to build, but on the specific and often really surprising impact it has on how happy your customers are.
The whole model is built on two simple axes. Think of it like a map. On the horizontal axis, you have execution, basically how well you build a feature, from not at all to perfectly. Then on the vertical axis, you've got the customer's reaction, all the way from completely dissatisfied to absolutely delighted. It's inside the simple grid that the real magic happens, because it shows us that in the customer's mind, not all features are created equal, not even close.
And this brings us to the real heart of the framework. Using that structured MISI approach, the Kano model splits every possible feature into 5 totally distinct categories. You know, when you think about your features this way, it's kind of like managing a balanced investment portfolio. If you overinvest in one area and completely ignore another, your whole product strategy could just fall apart. So here's the high-level view. Just look at the different impacts here. Some features, they only cause pain when they're missing. Others create total delight when they show up. And some, well, some do nothing at all, or even worse, they make things worse. Understanding the strategy behind each of these is absolutely critical. So let's break them down one by one. First up, we have the must-be's. Think of these as the cost of entry, the ticket to the game. These are the features your customers just assume will be there. If they're missing, people get annoyed immediately. But, and this is the key, if they are there, you get 0 credit. They're just taken for granted, right? You don't write a 5-star review because your hotel room had a working fan, but you will definitely complain if it's broken. Strategically, this isn't about winning. It's about not losing. Next, we have performance features. This is where the whole more is better idea comes into play. The better you are at these, the happier your customers get. It's a straight line. Think about a hotel's free breakfast. The more high-quality options you offer, the more satisfied your guests are going to be. This is where you often compete head-to-head. But here's a word of warning. If you only focus here, you get stuck in a really expensive feature arms race with your competitors, just fighting over tiny little gains. And this is where the magic happens, the delighters. These are those unexpected wow moments. Customers don't even know to ask for them, so if they're not there, nobody notices. But when you deliver one, it creates this powerful, memorable, positive experience that builds true, lasting loyalty. A surprise room upgrade doesn't just make a customer happy, it turns them into someone who tells all their friends about you. This is where great brands are built. Now, the model is also smart enough to tell us what not to build. Indifferent features are basically resource traps. Your customers honestly could not care less about them, one way or the other. Having them adds absolutely nothing to their experience, but it definitely adds to your costs. Every single dollar, every single hour of engineering you spend on an indifferent feature is a dollar you could have put into a real delighter. And finally, and this one is so important, we have reverse features. These are things that actually make the customer's experience worse. I mean, your satisfaction score literally goes up when you get rid of them. Think about a super complicated user interface or those annoying pop-up ads. Finding and ruthlessly cutting these out is a huge, low-cost win that can give you an immediate boost in customer satisfaction.
Okay, so we get the theory. It all makes sense. But how do we actually put this thing into practice? Let's build out your playbook. The Kano model isn't some academic idea. It's a repeatable process for gathering real data and making decisions with confidence.
The whole process breaks down into 5 clear steps. You identify a list of features, you survey your customers, you categorize their responses, analyze the data, and then you prioritize. But the real engine, the secret sauce, is in step 2, the survey. For each feature, you don't just ask, hey, do you want this? No, you ask a very specific 2-part question. First, how would you feel if you had this feature? And second, how would you feel if you did not have this feature? It's the unique combination of answers to those 2 questions that tells you what you're really looking at, whether it's a must-be, a delighter, or just a waste of time. To make this really concrete, let's just walk through a quick real-world example. Imagine a big corporate hospital. They wanted to improve patient satisfaction, but they had a long list of ideas and, of course, a limited budget. They used the Kano model to figure out where to put their money to get the biggest bang for their buck in patient happiness. So here's the list of 5 features they were thinking about. It's a real mixed bag, right? You've got some tech stuff, a fee, a service perk, something for the building. Without a framework, they'd just be guessing about which of these would actually move the needle on what patients think. So they surveyed about 30 patients with those special 2-part questions, and the results, well, they brought incredible clarity. All of a sudden, the hospital had a data-driven roadmap. They knew they had to build the online billing system just to meet basic expectations, a classic must-be. That insurance charge, it was actively making people angry, a reverse feature they needed to kill immediately. And the free follow-up visits, that was their golden ticket, a chance to create a true delighter and generate amazing word of mouth. The model didn't just give them answers, it gave them a clear, confident plan of attack.
But here's the thing. The real power of this model goes way beyond a single project analysis. When you use it consistently, it becomes a strategic tool for understanding how your market is changing and for predicting what your customers will want next. Because here's the truth. Customer expectations are never, ever static. And this is the perfect illustration of that. Think about the CD drive in a laptop. Back in the 90s, having one was a total delighter. It was amazing. By the 2000s, it had become a performance feature. And then, almost overnight, a must-be. You wouldn't even consider a laptop without one. But today, in a world of streaming and cloud storage, that bulky, heavy slot is a reverse feature for most of us. It just gets in the way. What wows your customers today is simply expected tomorrow, and it might even be an annoyance the day after that. So after this deep dive, what is the single most important thing to take away from all of this? What's the one core insight that should fundamentally change how you think about building products? It's this, simple as that. You have to stop treating all your features like they're equally important, because I promise you, your customers don't. Getting this difference is everything. It means you stop wasting money on things nobody cares about, and you start making strategic bets on the delighters that create a real defensible edge in the market.
So at the end of the day, the Kano model isn't just a spreadsheet exercise. It's a framework for getting inside your customers' heads. It gives you the clarity to separate the cost of doing business, the table stakes, from the brilliant innovations that are going to truly change the game and win you the market.
And that leaves us with one final forward-looking question for you. Take a hard look at your own product, your own service. What are you doing today that really wows your customers? And more importantly, are you ready for the day when that wow just becomes the new normal?